Proverbs 25:17 reads, "Let your foot be seldom in your neighbor's house, lest he have his fill of you and hate you." Y'all, there is something to be said about not overstaying your welcome, right? But I think even a deeper meaning in that particular text, it has to do with something that we call boundaries. What what I see when I read your neighbor's house, that could mean a place. It is a possession. That place in your time, that place in your physical space, your house. So there are many different areas where we have to be able to set boundaries. And so in this video, I'm going to talk to you and give you three things that you can do to set better boundaries. Let's go. All right, we're back. Let's do this. Sometimes, if we're honest, it is hard to set boundaries. But there are some areas in our life and in our work that we just have to do it. We have to set boundaries around our time. We have to set boundaries in our relationships. We have to set boundaries even in our finances, and we have to set boundaries with ourselves. One of the greatest things that we can learn as human beings is how to tell ourselves no. How to tell ourselves not right now. And so this concept of boundaries and setting boundaries is not new. We just now are really focusing on it and really striving to figure out, how do I get better at setting boundaries? Because we all know that we need to set boundaries before it ever becomes an issue. Before somebody's ever invading your space, like in our Proverbs, before somebody's ever invading your space and just knocking on the door and showing up, hey, we here, before they're ever, calling and maybe, they're always asking for money or whatever the case is, before they're ever, constantly trying to, schedule meetings or whatever the situation is, we already know that we need to have boundaries. A boundary is simply a line. It is a limit that we put in place to say, this stops right here. This is as far as I can go. And so the first thing that we have to do with setting boundaries is we have to acknowledge that we need to do it. We have to acknowledge that we need to do it. None of us, not one of us, lives the type of lifestyle where we don't need boundaries in one area or another. Sometimes boundaries are hard because we have a fear of telling people no. We have a fear of letting people down. We have a fear of disappointing people. So my first cue for you to set better boundaries is, number one, you have to give yourself permission to do so. You have to give yourself permission to do so. You have to get yourself to a place where you understand it is a natural progression. There are some things that we need to keep out of our space, but there are also some things that we need to keep in. So when you think about boundaries, don't just think about boundaries keep things out, but I also want you to consider what boundaries help to keep in. So when we're talking about protecting our space, then we're talking about protecting our time, protecting our resources, protecting our energy, protecting our family, our relationships. And so boundaries not only keep things out, but they also keep things in, and they keep things in proper place, in proper perspective. And they allow us to be able to effectively manage all the stuff that we have going on. And let's be honest, y'all, we have a lot going on. So the first thing that we have to do is we got to get comfortable with giving ourselves permission to say, yeah, this is as far as I can go. We do that by first identifying what that limit needs to be. where those limits needs to be. So we got to set boundaries with our kids. There ain't no problem with telling your kid no. I don't care what nobody tell you. It's okay. Sometimes you have to say no to work, especially when it comes to things that are taking away from what you really need to be doing and what you really need to be working on. There's a way to do that, right? Even in our relationships, we have to set boundaries. We have to set boundaries around our finances. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have a budget. A budget is a way of setting a financial boundary in your relationship and even for yourself. So you got to give yourself permission to do all of that. The second thing is that you have to be direct. You have to openly communicate about the boundaries. Boundaries are no good if nobody knows that they're there. If nobody knows that they're there, then people will continue to do what people do. And you will feel more and more frustrated as time goes on because you have not directly and clearly communicated what the boundaries are. For example, my cell phone, I have it set up, and everybody that knows me, I have it set up where at 9 o'clock every night, it goes silent. Notifications don't come through. Text messages don't come through. There are very few people, maybe a list of 5, and 2 of them are my parents, where their messages and their calls will actually come through. It doesn't mean that I don't value the other people. It doesn't mean that I don't love y'all. It doesn't mean that I don't care for you. But that is a boundary that I set up. And when I talk to people, I let them know, hey, if you text or call me after 9 o'clock, I'm probably not going to see it until the next day because I have it set up where I would intentionally have to go in my phone, turn the lock off, and go in and look at those things because that's my time where I sit, where I'm studying, where I'm studying, I'm focused, I'm working on something, I'm typing, I'm writing, whatever the case is. That's my boundary. That's the way I do it. And then last thing, and I love this one, is my favorite. I think you're going to love it too. The last tip that I have to set better boundaries is to find you what I call a boundary buddy. Find you what I call a boundary buddy. A boundary buddy is a person that you can count on to remind you of the boundaries that you set. Sometimes we set boundaries, but we don't maintain them. We go back on what we said. We lose our commitment. We lose our passion because oftentimes we don't set boundaries for the right reasons. We set them from a place of frustration. We set them from a place of anger, as opposed to setting them from a place of clear thought and clear thinking. Your boundary buddy is the person that you can count on to help you do just that and to remind you, hey, I thought you said that at 9 o'clock you were going to shut your phone down. But I saw, on social media, you were just posting on Instagram at 9:30. What's going on, brother? See, it needs to be somebody that you respect and you love enough where they can come to you like that and you're not going to be offended. You're not going to be in your feelings. You're not going to be mad at them and not want to speak to them anymore. But find yourself a good boundary buddy, somebody you don't mind receiving correction, that you don't mind receiving that tough love from. All right, y'all, that's Leading in Life. See you all next time.